Hi, thank you for purchasing How to Start Your Photography Business. Let me quickly discuss a little bit or introduce myself. I'm Monya. I'm Monya Maxwell from Monya Photography. I've been a full-time photographer specializing specifically in the newborn and maternity and cake smashes for the past 7 years full-time. I originally did start out part-time, but then eventually I did go full-time. And in 2018, I opened up my first studio. And right now I'm in my second studio, which is a little bit bigger than what the first one was. All right. Um, I've had to learn a lot over the years on how to do this, how to run the business, how to do marketing, build my own websites. At times I built my own website, and at other times I use service providers. Um, how to do marketing strategies and how marketing strategies do change over time. For instance, marketing strategies that worked before COVID didn't necessarily work exactly the same after COVID, so you kind of had to adjust to certain things like that. So I've learned a lot. I've spent many hours and nights and yeah on the internet researching, trying to figure things out, building websites and all those type of things. So it's been a long journey, and I've learned a lot, and I would like to start sharing it with other people just to make it easy for other people out there as well. So this specific training is very much aimed at small standalone businesses. Okay, so sole proprietors, where it's just you doing photography, or a beautician, or a nail technician, or a hairdresser, very more specific for sole proprietors standing alone on their own. Maybe you have one or two employees working with you, but it's definitely not for the bigger corporate companies. This specific training is aimed at the small guys. So whatever service delivery or industry that you are in, and maybe even on products. I haven't done products myself, so most of the information would be related to products. You would just go into an e-commerce type of website, whereas service-related people don't really need to have an e-commerce website, and your pricing structure might just be a little bit different to the formula that we're going to explain later. It's going to be very basic just to get you going, and then from here on you can then decide how to build on and where to take things further. All right. The first thing that we're going to start with is every company needs a website. Whether it's just you and your camera, or you and whatever service you are supplying to people out there, it is a good thing to have a website. Now, the idea of a website just maybe will ring like dollar bills or money bills or anything for you. It doesn't have to be an expensive thing. There are ways to do it very basic, very cost effective as well. So I'll discuss this with you, and in the PDF document that I'm seeing that's attached with the training, there are links for places that you can try that are cost effective. Now, all the places that I mention, all the companies and the websites and so on that I do mention in the PDF, it's just people that I've come across. I have no affiliation with them. Whatever your experience with them is and what your relationship with them is between you and the service providers, or also with the websites and stuff, the links that I provide on how to build a website and so on. It's not my resources. It's not something that I have anything to do with. It is just stuff that I have found over time that is cost effective and it works, and so on. Okay, so use it at your own discretion, but also use it with your own common sense on, okay, so maybe this link or this video was created in 2021 and the template has updated over here, so it's just a little bit of a tweak here or a little bit of a tweak there, or so on. Okay, so and when you deal with the service providers, that's between you and the service providers, how costing works, how billing works. You ask them whatever questions you need to ask them in order to explain how their system works and how to implement things for you. I'm just going to share the knowledge and the resources that I have found that actually do make it easy to just get out there and get things going. All right, so a website. Back on the website, every company needs a website, whether it's just you and your camera. Okay, before you start with the website and get all stressed out on how to build a website, let's quickly look at what you're going to need first, and then we'll go into detail. So the first thing you're going to need is a domain. You're going to need a website developer or a hosting company where you can build your own website and host it on their services. And you're going to need an email account. Okay, If you go with a web developer, sometimes they will host your email account for you. If you go with a company to host your website that you're going to build yourself, they can also normally host your email for you. Okay, and it all ties into your domain as well. So whatever domain you use for your website, you're going to probably use for your email account as well. Okay, what is a domain? A domain is the name of your website. So when you type in www.abcphotography.co.za, abcphotography.co.za, that is the domain part. So that is the name of your business, most likely going to be, and also going to be your email, the domain for your email account. So you can say hello at abcphotography.co.za. All right. There are places where you can look to find out what domains are available and what are taken. In the documentation, I've given you some links. So the very, very basic one is the Whois registry, which was the very, very first original registry when it came to registering a .co.za domain. You can go take a look there. Because the internet has exploded, there's also a lot more different types of domains available right now. In the past, everything was always .co.za or .com. .com is more for your international clients and stuff. So if you're only focusing on local providers, it probably would not be best to use a .com, because even if local people search you and they see a .com, then they're going to think you're an international service provider. So be careful of not registering for .com. .com is also a little bit more pricey than a .co.za. Then there are other domain names that have also come into play, such as .joburg, .cape town, .durban, and so on. So if you're servicing a certain area and you want to look at using a domain such as that, then there is the option for things like that as well. Right, so you can decide whether you want to go with the web developer or if you want to host with a service provider. So the web developer makes use of the service provider's platforms, but they are the middle person for you because they understand how the system works and they do everything for you. Now, sometimes they will charge you a monthly fee to continue managing your website for you, or sometimes they actually hand over the completed website to you and say, okay, we've done building it, management is up to you every month, here's your login details, here is how it works. Okay, or you can go with the service provider directly. Every service provider has a different portal and has different packages and stuff, so best would be to speak to their sales department and understand how it works. So instead of hosting your website then with the web developer, which is on the service provider's platform, you now just go with the service provider directly and everything is hosted on their platform. A lot of the service providers do have articles and stuff to aid clients to do it themselves and stuff, and they have an online system where you log into via the website and you can see everything from your portfolio or your account, what you have on your account, what domains you have registered, what is the different packages for websites that you can register for, and all your login details and stuff like that will be with them. Okay, so just to give a bit of an overview and the difference between the two. All right, most websites are built in WordPress. Okay, a lot of people have heard of WordPress. It's something that we are very, very familiar with. And if you have no experience with WordPress, it can be very daunting and overwhelming. Now, this is where the web developers, they normally use WordPress. Okay, so they will do everything in the background. Or if you go with the service provider, you will need to work into WordPress. Now, in the PDF document, I've given you a link where a guy has built a website within an hour. It's a very basic website, and he uses some of the templates that are built into WordPress already. So sometimes WordPress already comes with preloaded templates. This video shows you how to go and access the templates, how they work, and so on. It's a very easy, it helps you to just get the basics of your website going. So for a basic website, what would you need? Okay. For photographers, there's one thing you just need to keep in mind, that when you do select your hosting package and you speak to the sales guys, you let them know that you are a photographer and that you're going to have a little bit of hosting space to upload your photo gallery. So for somebody with a very basic, let's say somebody who sells carpeting cleaning services, They're going to have a very basic website, but they're not going to have a gallery as such. Okay, so their basic website uses very, very small amount of hosting space. But when it comes to us as photographers and we want to start loading profiles with the galleries to show our portfolio off to our clients, we tend to load a little bit more photos on, and sometimes those photos can take a bit of space. So just discuss it with your hosting service provider as well, just to make sure that your package does have enough space for you to upload enough photos for your portfolio. But you do not need to go upload 2,000 photos. You just need a few photos just to draw your client's attention and then refer them to your social media where you can upload as many photos over time as you want. Okay, so don't go and bombard your clients with 2,000 photos on your website either. You're going to waste money in hosting fees and it's going to just be too much for your clients to visualize and to just take in. Okay, so when you start building your website, it's very basic pages that you're going to need. You're going to need a home page, you're going to need an about page, your packages or your services that you offer, a gallery or your portfolio, and your contact page. Okay, so it's not a complicated website. On your home page, you just put some focus stuff out to show your clients very briefly what you specialize in. So if you are a newborn photographer, you're going to put 2 or 3 images of newborn on there, welcome them, tell them that you're doing a newborn photography, and maybe even add the area that you are in. So for instance, to say servicing the Gauteng area. Okay, so that when they see your website straight from the bat, they know, okay, I'm in Durban, so you're in Gauteng, you're not the photographer for me, or I'm in Gauteng and you're in Gauteng, you are a photographer that I can look at. Then you're on your about page, you can tell a little bit more about yourself, introduce yourself, have a little bit of a conversation with your client just to let them know about who you are, what your style is, what your focus is, what it is that you love. People like to relate. Okay, not everybody reads it, but some people do take the time to read it. Okay, then on your packages page, you can decide whether you want to put your prices on your website or not, but at least put your packages out there to say, I have these type of packages for newborn, I have these type of packages for family photo shoots, I have these type of packages for weddings. And then if you don't want to put your prices on your website, then you can just say there, contact me for pricing. All right, putting your prices on the website, don't put your prices on the website, it's it's one of those conversations of tomato. I'm going to be honest. It is something you need to decide for yourself whether you want to put your prices out on your website. For some people it works, for other people it does not. But it's absolutely up to you to decide how you want to do that. Okay, on your gallery page, this is where you're going to put your portfolio to show clients the type of photo shoots that you have done in the past. Make sure that it's your own photos. You never use somebody else's photos and display it as your own. You will get caught. Even if it's photos from international photographers, you will be surprised. You're gonna get caught. Okay, so don't do that. Make sure that you are honest and you show your own work off to your clients so that they know what to expect when they book a session with you. All right. There are different ways that you can do your gallery. So you can categorize it in different ones to say, okay, I do newborn photography, here's all my newborn shoots. I do maternity photography, here's all my maternity that I want to show. Okay, again, do not go load everything that you have. Just go load a few photos per session, just enough to attract the client's attention. On your social media platforms, you can go and post a lot more photos, all right? But on your website, you just need to put it just enough to draw your client's attention and to show off your work so that they can see whether your style is what they are looking for or not. All right. Or the other option is you can just have one slideshow where you show everything that you do, whether it's family and weddings or engagement or whatever the situation is. Okay, the next page is your contacts page. On there, make sure that you put your address or at least the area that you're in. If you're working from a home studio, maybe don't put your address on. It's up to you if you want to do that. Just at least put your area to say this is the area I am in, and put your email address, a contact form, and definitely your phone number on there. All right. On your website, in the platform, There will also be a link where you will add your social media icons. Just link it back to your different social media icons. Okay. These normally come into your footer or the header of your website. All right. The next thing that you need to look at getting set up is email accounts. All right. So we discussed domain earlier and we spoke about hosting your website, which is also probably going to be the same people that you're going or same company that you're going to host your email with. You can decide whether you want to use a Gmail account. So you say abcphotography at Gmail, or if you're going to use your domain name and set up an Outlook account or a webmail account for your email and host it with your service provider. It's completely up to you which way you want to go. All right. And then also whichever setup you need. Gmail, doing that is very easy. It's very easy to just quickly create an email account, to have access on your laptop straight away, and even to have access on your phone to it. To set up your email via a service provider using your customized domain, that is something you're going to have to discuss with your service provider, and it's going to take just a little bit more time, but it's normally not so complicated either. Okay, but it is something that you're going to need their assistance because it's done on their platforms, where as a Gmail account you can quickly just do it yourself. All right, a custom domain does look more professional, but I have had problems in the past where service providers have stuffed things up and I lost emails. Whereas with a Gmail account, you have lifelong access. Okay. But it does not look as professional or trusting as a personal email account. All right. But you need to decide what is going to work for you, what is going to make sense for you in that side. All right. Okay, social media accounts. In the photography industry, having a social media account is essential. Being a service provider, I would also suggest having social media accounts. I know a lot of us do tend to get a little bit overwhelmed and tired of social media, but we'll be surprised with how many people are still using social media. And it is definitely something that you should have. So for photography type of businesses or anything in the visual side, an Instagram account is a must, and then also a Facebook account. If you want to go and create a TikTok account, that's completely up to you. I'm not sure. I can't really comment on TikTok at the moment. It's still a little bit of a exploring area for myself. All right. And then also later on in life, if you have your LinkedIn profile, you can just go and update your LinkedIn profile also to say this is who you are and this is what you do. But for service related, especially on the photography, trying to find clients on LinkedIn, unless you're actually working on the corporate side, it's not really where you're going to find your business. It's just a good platform to present yourself for your own career. Okay. All right. So we're going to go into the next video, which is where we're going to start talking about SEOs and analytics and all those other gibberish kind of stuff. All right, cool. See you in the next one. All right, SEOs. What are SEOs? Okay, some of you might have heard the concept of SEOs, but it feels like some sort of foreign object to you, which it can be at first. It takes a while to just kind of get the hang of it. But there are some really cool places and websites where you can learn about it and that also teach you more on it. Okay, so I'm not really going to teach you about it. I'm just going to kind of give you the overview, and then you can go and try out the different websites and go and explore and try and figure it out. Okay, so SEOs is the phrases that people use when they go onto Google. All right, so if I'm going to go and look for a specific book, I'm going to put the book's name in, and I'm going to say maybe PDF or online store if I want to purchase it online and have it delivered to me, or whether I want to go to a shop to go and look for it. And then that's what's going to come up. So the same also is if somebody is looking for a newborn photographer in Pretoria, for instance, they're going to say newborn photographer near me or newborn photographer in a specific area where they are, or so on. So those are keywords, okay? It's the phrases that people use to search for things on the internet, and that's the kind of data that you need to build into your website so that when people search for these terms that they actually find your website. Now, it's important to use only terms related to your website and not to go and put other stuff in that is not related, okay? SEOs can get extremely technical, and there are things that Google will penalize you for if you use too many keywords or the wrong keywords and so on. All right. So be very sure to use the keywords related to your field specifically. So if you do not do wedding photography, do not use wedding photography keywords in your website. All right. Now, the other thing with keywords is every website needs keywords. If you do not have keywords on your website, it's like having a plate but having no food on it, or having a mug but no coffee in it. It's pointless, okay? It's pointless having a website if you do not build in keywords into it. The other thing with keywords is it's a patience game. It takes at least 3 months for keywords to start working effectively, all right? There's a very good website from Neil Patel. His website is called Uber Suggest. I did put the link into the documentation as well. You can create a free account. The free account is very limited, all right? So if you really want to learn seriously about SEOs, this is really a good website to start. Neil Patel also does very good newsletters every week where he teaches people. Now, his newsletters can sometimes be very generic and very broad across a broad industry. So a lot of the stuff is not necessarily related to small service providers, but sometimes there are very valuable information that you can learn from it, okay? So do sign up for his newsletters as well. Then, because the rand dollar at the moment is quite high, it makes it quite expensive for us to start buying services in dollar. But if you want to take your SEOs seriously and get it up and running, it would be worthwhile to pay for one of the limited packages or the entry-level packages with Neil Patel for the standalone person to get fuller features and then learn how to do the SEOs. His profile or the platform this Uber suggests that he uses is a very good platform. It makes suggestions for you. It shows you where the errors on your website are. It shows a lot of data on there, and it makes, like I said, it gives you actually keyword suggestions. It also gives you suggestions on phrases to use for when you want to write blogs and things like that. Blogging is also, it's something that really does help build keywords into your website. So maybe look into doing blog every now and then as well. I'm not a very big blogger myself, so I do not blog weekly. I sometimes don't even blog monthly. But when I did start my website, I did write a couple of blogs just to help build keywords in. All right. Then the other platforms that you're also going to need to look at is your Google Console. Now, Google Console is something that you have to do only once to link it to your website. It can take up to 48 hours to propagate, or to verify. So just be patient with that. If there is an error, it would give you the error message straight away, and then you need to discuss this error with whoever's hosting your website, whether you went the web developer side or whether you went with the service provider directly. All right. And then they will just assist you to get your Google Console set up. Now, Google Console runs in the background. It also gives you a lot of great information on statistics on your website and how your website is running, and it also sometimes picks up errors. Now, things like Uber Suggest, Google Console, Google Analytics, and the Stat Counter, they each are different, but also have very many similarities. So a lot of them will show you the traffic on your website. A lot of them will show you the keywords that are searched the most, or what your website is picked up for the most. But each one is also different. Okay, so from each one, there is different information and different data that you can learn. The only one at this stage that you will pay for is if you go with the paid option, is for Uber Suggest, and maybe on Stats Counter there are paid options as well. However, there's also a free version that you can use. But for Google Analytics and Google Console, both of those are free and both of them are very, very vital. All right. Google Analytics really helps also to show you about your organic traffic. If your organic traffic works well, if you do go for Google AdWords, it will also show whether your Google AdWords is performing well, so that you can get an idea if your keywords are set up correctly, because your keywords will affect your organic traffic. All right. And then a Google ad is obviously now the adverts that you've set up. Now Google Analytics shows you the comparison so that you can see where most of your traffic is coming from, so that you know which area of your marketing is working, which one is not, which one to focus on more, or which one needs more attention. Okay, so it shows you about your keywords, the ones that are searched the most. It shows you which areas people are from when they search you. It gives you a lot of in detail information as well. And it's going to take time to just get used to how to analyze the information and to just go around with it. Go around and play with it as well, and just familiarize yourself with it. With all these things, you don't need to be the top expert and understand it exactly. You just need to have an overview of how it works so that you can get the basics at least sorted and get your website out there so that people can find you, because that's what you want. Okay. Then the last one I want to mention is Stat Counter. Stat Counter gives you a little bit of a different view, where it shows you more in detail, not just people who came onto your website, but how many people are return visitors, meaning that they've been on your website before, now they're back on your website. How many people are new visitors, and how many people have actually scrolled through your website and not just landed on your your homepage and then went off your website. Okay, so all these things, it gives you great information on how your website is performing on the internet, what's working, what's not working, and over time you'll get more and more used to how to analyze the data. All right. Then there are different ways of doing advertising. Now, advertising is a little bit of a tricky one. I'm not going to go into too details because it's constantly changing. So firstly, if you want to do social media advertising, you can look at setting up the meta business for your Facebook and Instagram. Now, Facebook Meta is basically the business side of Facebook, and it links your Instagram and Facebook together. So you have the option that when you want to put a post on, you can schedule posts, which is great. It helps a lot if you want to plan your post for a week or for 2 weeks in advance. And you can also say, okay, on this specific date and time, only post on Instagram or only post on Facebook, and on this and date and time, post on both at the same time. And then you put the same content on both at the same time. It also gives you a lot of analytics in the background to show you which one is how your social media platforms are performing, whether you have increased in visits, whether you have increased in followers, or whether you have decreased. It also shows you if you're running ads on there, how your ads are working, and so on. So it also gives you a lot of information in the background so that you can get an idea of what's working, what's not working. It also shows you which of your posts do get the most likes and most views, so that you kind of get an idea of what content your followers do like as well. All right. In the documentation, because like I said, social media changes a lot. There's constantly algorithms changing and things like that. And there are 2 companies that I did put in contact details for you that you can contact to help you set up adverts if you feel to rather spend budget on that instead of trying to do it yourself. There are also links in there for how to set up your Google Ads. Right. Google Ads is something that has to run long term. You cannot set up a Google ad to run for 7 days and think that businesses are going to come streaming in. That is not how Google Ads work. Google Ads is something that you run for 3, 4, 5 months minimum to try and get an idea whether your Google ad is working for you or not. All right. It does sound scary to have an ad run for that long and not know if it's going to work or not. So when you start setting up your Google ad, you always use your minimum budget. All right. And you do have the functionality in Google Ads and in business where you can cap your budget. And by that, it means is if you say you only want to spend 500 Rand a month on your budget, then they stop billing by 500 Rand. Whether that 500 Rand was reached in a week or whether that 500 Rand was reached in a month time, this ad will stop because that's your cap. All right, that's the maximum that you want to spend. So you will not end up, if as long as you set the cap, you will not end up with huge bills at the end of the month. All right. So make sure to set that up in your Google ad. And then also, once you set up your Google ad, it's important to every week go back and tweak it. Now, Google ad is also trying to make it as user-friendly as possible for small businesses so that we can also understand it. They are really trying. So they do come with recommendations. So after a week, your ad has run and it starts drawing data and stuff in the background from them. Then it also shows you to say, listen, this is where your ad lacks performance, this is where you need to make adjustments, and it actually makes recommendations for you. There are also links and stuff in it to link you back to information and resources if there's certain things you don't understand. All right. But also I did put the YouTube channel for Ben Heath in. He's also very, very good in teaching you how to set up your Google AdWords and things like that. All right. Yeah. And then social media adverts, you can set them up for 7 days if you want to do a promotion. If you have a promotion running and it's in the middle of the month and the promotion is only running to the end of the month, you can quickly put a 7-day advert up there. Also, for the first time, do it on your lowest budget, just so that the algorithms in the background and stuff can run and familiarize itself with how your audience works. All right, so there's different ways. You can go with the automated audience based on what the algorithms in the background think is accordance to your audience, or you can go and create your own one. All right, just go look up some videos if you want to on how to do that. So go and check out the resources provided in the documentation if you want to start looking into more details on how to build your adverts. All right, next on the next video, we're going to look at the niche marketing and your business documentation. Up next is talking about niche marketing and defining your client. So what is a niche market? A niche market is when you are only focused on a certain group of clients in your industry. For example, would be like a wedding photographer. Now, a wedding photographer's niche is weddings because that's what the wedding photographer is focused on, but they would also sometimes do couples photo shoots and engagement photo shoots with the aim of gaining more wedding clients that way. All right. We all start by exploring, and that's fine. It's normal, especially in the beginning when you first start out with a photography business. You're kind of finding your feet, deciding what you want to do, what you like, what you don't like, and so on, and it's perfectly fine. But once you start establishing what it is that you like, it is a good idea to start focusing or narrowing your focus into the areas that you enjoy the most. So for one, is what it does is it helps you with your SEOs. So instead of building your SEOs to cover, let's say for instance, because the photography industry can be quite broad. So you're now doing photo shoots for newborn, maternity, family, cake smash, weddings, matric farewells, headshots, pet photography. If you're doing all those different things and you're trying to build all those SEOs on your website, it might not be the most effective strategy, okay? Because it's going to make it difficult for all of those SEOs to start ranking instead of just focusing on all the SEOs for wedding related stuff. And then everything, all the SEOs will be related to, say for instance, if you're niching into wedding photography. So for example, you have your SEOs for wedding photographer Gauteng, best wedding photographer, top wedding photographer. Everything is, even though the phrases are different, but the word wedding, for instance, keeps repeating itself in all the key phrases, okay? So that's what helps also with your SEOs and niching down and focusing your SEOs on certain specific phrases. It does make a huge difference in that. Okay, so that's where niching does help. It also makes your website look more professional to say, okay, this person only specializes in this area because everything on the website is related to either newborn and maternity photography or wedding photography. And then also it helps a lot onto your social media platforms because it's all the stuff that you are posting. All right. So when the client reaches out to you, or when the client searches you on social media or on a website, or gets to your website when they search the internet, your message is very clear to what you are doing. What is the area that you are specializing in? So if they are looking for a matric farewell photographer and they get to your page, they can very clearly see that you do not do matric farewells. Okay. Or if they are looking for a wedding photographer, they can very clearly see that this is what you are specializing in. So your message comes out very clear, very strong to what it is that you are doing. All right. It also helps when you start focusing your area into what you want to service in. It helps you make very important decisions on how to build your business. So for instance, a wedding photographer might not need a studio. All right. So they need other things where they need to focus on maybe equipment. Okay. So they need to have a bigger budget for all the equipment and the batteries and things like that, and paying assistants and having contracts for weddings drawn up and contracts for assistants drawn up, so you know where to spend your budget and where to spend your focus and stuff like that. If you want to specialize as a newborn photographer and go into the babies and stuff, then you set out for yourself, okay, this is the age range that I want to cover, these are the type of props that I need, this is the studio space that I need, and you need to work out your storage, and this is how you're going to have to do your financial planning to say, I need to pay X, Y, and Z in order to work in this specific field that I want to specialize in. All right. So it helps a lot. It helps a lot with those type of plannings to know exactly what it is that you want to do so that you know how to plan ahead. And there's nothing wrong with changing. Okay. If you want to do a specific thing for 5 years and you're like, I don't really want to continue doing this anymore, I want to change into that direction, then there's nothing wrong with changing. Okay. Change is part of human development. It's part of who we are. There's nothing wrong if you get to a point in your career where you feel like it's time for a change. So there's nothing wrong with that. Just keep in mind what it is that you are specializing in, what your budget is focused around, and then say, okay, well, I don't want to do newborns anymore, but I really like working with 2 and 3-year-olds. And then you just adjust your direction and adjust your focus. There's nothing wrong with doing that. All right. There are also photographers out there who like to specialize in very wide angles. That is also very possible. If that is what you enjoy doing, then go for it. Just look at your costs. So if you want to be a newborn photographer and a wedding photographer, your business layout might be a little bit different. Whereas with weddings, you don't really need to pay for studio rental. Whereas with newborn, you need to have space. So you can either then say, okay, well, I have a little room at home where I can put all my stuff. I will then do travel newborn photography and travel to people's homes and do the photo shoots there. If that is what works for you, then by all means, go for it. Just work out what it is that you want to do and specialize in, because it helps a lot with your business decisions going forward and where to spend your money so that you don't end up wasting money on stuff that you not really going to utilize, that's not really going to bring money back in for you. All right. And also, like I said, it makes a huge difference on your message on social media and on your website and on your SEOs. All right. Okay, business stationery. Right. So by the time that you have built your website, you probably would have realized that you need a logo. So maybe you got somebody to create your logo for you, or you did it yourself. All right, just make sure it looks nice and professional. And if you're going to use it on your photos, that it also looks good on the photos. All right. So for some people, they have a very nice logo that fits in a square, very beautiful on all their documentation, but then they have just their name and their website address maybe as a very basic, not email signature, signature for watermark, sorry man, watermark to put onto your photos, okay? Whether you want to watermark your photos, now that we're talking about that, it's completely up to you. It For me personally, I like to watermark my images because then people know on social media whose images it is, who the images belong to, who the photographer is and stuff like that. So for me, I do enjoy or do prefer to watermark my images. I do know there's other photographers who don't mind and who don't watermark. I think it's personal preference. Right now, I'm not going to get too technical about it. Years back when I did look up the legal side of watermarking, it was actually recommended that you had to put the copyright symbol into your watermark. And you were technically actually also supposed to put the year the photo was taken in the watermark. But to try and remember doing that at the end of the year, because I mean, for photographers, December is normally one of our crazy busy months. And then in January, you forget and the watermark just continues and continues. And by April, you realize, oh crap, I forgot to change the year. That's honestly the reason why I stopped doing it. But if you want to set yourself a reminder to change the year and you put it in your diary for every January, the 1st of Jan, to change your watermark, then by all means, go for it. Watermarking your images is completely personal decision for you. All right, so back to the logo. Like I said, you probably have your logo already. You either did it yourself or you had somebody do it for you. And just remember to have your watermark on a transparent background as well, so that when you do marketing documentation, you don't have a little square in a white thingy with your watermark in, but it actually takes that whole white square in the background out. All right, get an email signature. I think it looks very, very nice and professional in your email. You can also add your business hours into your email signature to remind people what your business hours are. In the photography industry, a lot of our clients, when they contact us, even though our business for us is our business and we present ourselves professional and stuff, and we prefer to work in normal business hours with communication, because a lot of us do have families and lives out of our business as well. Just keep in mind that for our clients, it's not a business relationship as such. It's working people who are busy at work, focus on everything that they need to get done at work, and then after hours, it's a personal thing for them where they need to remember to do the booking. All right. So sometimes you do get clients messaging you late at night, or maybe even phone calls and stuff. So just be very, very clear on your documentation and in your email signature and on your website what your trading hours are, which is the preferred hours you would prefer phone calls to happen. So for a lot of us, we don't mind answering a WhatsApp here and there or an email here and there. But for me personally, there's certain times of the day I do not want to receive phone calls, because then I'm busy at home and there might be kids in the background screaming or a TV being noisy or something like that. So there's certain times of the day that I don't like to answer my phone, but I will still late at night respond to email. And there's a certain time for me personally around about 8 o'clock. I don't like to answer WhatsApp messages really. The only time I would really answer my messages between 6 and 8 is if it was a very busy day and I didn't get a chance to answer all my messages and stuff. Otherwise, I'll just leave it over to the next day. But emails, I mean, emails is not something that beeps on your phone straight away. So for me, that's okay if I even 12 o'clock at night answer an email, because it's a little less invasive than a phone call or a WhatsApp that time of night. All right. On your WhatsApp, there is WhatsApp business profiles, and you can also have WhatsApp on your desktop, which makes it very, very convenient when you're busy answering like 10 messages in the morning. Remember to set up your business profile, to put in there again, you can put your office hours in there, you can add your logo, your website, and you can also add little welcome messages. So when a new client messages you, you can say there, hello, I'm so-and-so. Here's my website. If you want to take a look at my portfolio, I will respond to you in the following type of hours or within the next 24 to 48 hours. Okay, and then also just add your business hours there, so that people are just reminded there's certain times that you prefer to take phone calls and that you are mostly trying to be active in answering messages and so on. All right, you can also look at voucher templates if you will be considering to sell vouchers. There are sometimes people who want to buy vouchers. It's not a very high demand thing, but if you want it and it's something you'll consider, then yeah, set up a little template for you. And when it comes to the templates and stuff, just make sure that you try and use the same fonts, the same sizes, and the same color throughout your website design and all your documentation. So whatever font you use in your email and on your voucher template, on your business cards, if you're going to do business cards and stuff, just try and use the same fonts and things so that there's just like consistency in your brand. Okay, be careful of the scripted fonts. They are not always very readable. Make sure that your font is actually readable. Whether it's a small business card or a bigger flyer, just make sure that this font is nice and readable. So also don't go too bold, because when you go too bold and you need to start printing business cards, then it looks all mushed up together. All right. Business cards and flyers are not quite as out of fashion as we think. There are still people who ask for business cards in 2023. And just last year, I actually went through a flyer marketing run where I printed probably about, I think I printed about 500 flyers that I went and delivered to different venues and locations and stuff. And I have received business from people saying, I found your flyer. Okay, so flyers are not that out-fashioned or outdated. If also you don't necessarily need to go and order 1,000 flyers or large quantities or anything. So in your area, just see if there's a printing company that can do small quantities for you, because you don't need boxes and boxes full of business cards and flyers. Okay, so just be careful with that as well. All right, so don't go and order too much, but just have some and make use of it and hand it out and so on. All right. Keep business cards on you. I have been caught off guard where I did not have business cards with me, and it's actually quite embarrassing. All right, so just keep some business cards on you, or even if you have a little bag where you can put flyers in so that they don't scrunch up too much, then you're welcome to do that. You can also look at sharing flyer space with another company who has a similar clientele to yourself. All right, so if you're a wedding photographer and there is somebody who does wedding dresses, for instance, then you can print on the one side of the flyer and they can print on the other side, because your clientele is roughly the same. All right, so don't be scared to share marketing space and ideas and stuff with other companies and service providers who have the same clientele as you. Okay, so don't be scared of things like that. It can be very beneficial. Also, talking about that, don't be scared to reach out to other photographers. So for me, for instance, I do not do wedding photography. I have partnered with another photographer who very much specializes in wedding photography, but he doesn't like working with small babies. So we tend to share our clientele. Whenever somebody comes to me and say to me, listen, I'm looking for a quote for weddings, I'm like, thank you very much for contacting me, but I don't do wedding photography, but I can recommend you to so and so, and vice versa is how it works. Okay, so don't be scared to connect out with other photographers in the industry as well. Make friends under each other. Also, sometimes I would have a client who likes a specific setup and it's not my style. So I'm not going to go and buy those props and things that are not my style just to make a client happy, when I know very well 2 towns or 2 suburbs from me, there's another photographer who does exactly what my client is looking for, or the potential client. Then I would refer them and say, listen, this person does what you are looking for. Maybe give them a shot. Okay, I've literally had it in the past where somebody sent me an image from Instagram of a specific setup they wanted, and the photographer was actually in the area. So it's not like it was a photographer in a different province or anything. The photographer was actually in the area and they wanted me to do the package, and I'm like, but I don't have the props, it's not my style, it's not what I have. I happened to identify the image and recognize the person, and I actually gave them the photographer's details. And actually, fact, I think it happened twice to me. And this client was very happy, but for some reason, I think the image must have been sent to them via somebody else or something, because they didn't actually realize who the photographer was of the image, and they thought other photographers could maybe do the same thing. So the clients were actually very, very happy when I just gave them the actual photographer who did the exact setup that they like, it's contact details, and they contacted the photographer. So don't be too scared of that. Don't feel forced to do things that you're not comfortable with doing just for the sake of business, all right? Don't go ruin your reputation and then screwing something up or spending money on something that you're not going to use again just for the sake of keeping a client happy. So just be careful with those type of things as well. All right. So on the next video, we're going to talk about budgeting and finances, which is a big part of running a business. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Okay, let's talk about money, the money, because this is really why we're doing it, hey? Is to make money. And it's not just to make money to survive and just to pay the bills. We actually want to have a quality of life as well. Otherwise, it's pointless. All right. Okay, so first thing is just to get to the basic stuff. You have to do tax every year, whether we like it or not. If you make money, you need to submit your tax. So make sure that you have a reputable tax consultant who can help you. All right. On that note, from personal experience, be careful that they do not try and convince you to register as a PTY. There are a lot of additional fees that are legally required and you have to pay every year to run as a PTY. So PTY works for companies and it can work for sole proprietors as well and small service providers, but there is a lot of money that you need to make it worth your while to register as a PTY to have better tax benefits. All right, so be cautious of that. And always, if somebody recommends you to register as a PTY, just go get 2 or 3 different opinions on that as well from reliable sources. All right. So just a side note, it's for companies who make substantial money where there's different tax benefits, okay? And it is possible in the photography industry when you start making really big bucks. All right, so just keep that in mind. So your turnover needs to be quite high before it actually is beneficial for you to register as a PTY. But in the meantime, you start off as a sole proprietor, okay? A sole proprietor basically means that I trade as myself. So I'm Monya Maxwell, trading as Monya Photography. All right. There is no company registration documents required, and your ID number is basically your company document. So whenever you need to apply for debt or anything, you're pretty much doing it in your private name. So all the risk is on you as a person in your private name. But as a small proprietor, sole proprietor and small company like ourselves, the risk of running a business is low. So it's not like we are buying expensive equipment that we are reselling to clients, something goes wrong with equipment, or the shipment gets crashed or stolen, or something weird happens and people start suing you for that, or start suing a company for that, and you start sitting with massive legal issues. In any walk of life, legal issues is always a risk, but for our type of business, the risk is quite low. And make sure also that you have contracts in place. All right. Getting a contract in place, please discuss it with an attorney to make sure that it is in line with the South African law. All right. I do not want to cover contracts because I am not a legal representative. Okay, so I have not covered contracts in detail at all in this training because it's not a field that I'm specialized to talk in. It's best to discuss it with an attorney, and unfortunately it does involve attorney fees to draw up contracts and things like that. All right. Okay, so just to get back to tax and what's the basics that you need is you need an accounting system, all right? Where you can make your invoices out into, where you can capture all your expenses and your incomes and stuff. Doing it on a monthly, weekly, daily basis, it really does help when it comes to tax season so that you don't have to sit for a week long going through finances and statements and what to try and get your figures together. Because if you do it consistently every day, every week, every month, then all your data is already captured into your billing system. And at the end of the year, you can just draw a report and send it off to your tax consultant. Okay. It also looks a lot more professional when you have a decent invoice template that comes out of your system and stuff. All right. Then you would also do your monthly reconciliations. You can ask your tax consultant just to briefly show you when you're still a small company so that you understand how to do your reconciliations into your monthly billing system. Or these monthly billing systems, they sometimes do run online training as well, which might be beneficial for you to do. All right. Especially for small proprietors, they do focus on the small businesses as well. So whichever billing system you want to use, such as QuickBooks or Pastel, like Sage, just contact them and find out what what trainings they do offer for the small packages that you use. And you need a very basic package. You don't need those high-end extensive packages. So we're talking about fees for 2023 under 400 Rand a month where you pay. Okay, so different systems offer, or different accounting systems, they have different online packages and different fees and stuff. You're going to have to just look in between the bunch of them, see which one you like the most, who has training, and just start using it that way. It does make life a lot easier, especially when you want to start working out your figures to see what was my profit this month, what was my expenses this month. You need to look into those figures and have an idea what your figures are. You can't. Then also, as sole proprietors, because we do not trade as companies, we need to manage our personal expenses. All right, so certain of your expenses are business expenses and certain of your expenses are personal expenses. All right, having your private and your business expenses in two separate accounts also helps a heck of a lot on managing your budget and also having your figures ready for the year end when you need to do your tax. So what is recommended is you have a business account where all your business transactions come into and all your business expenses are paid from. So all your client accounts and invoices are paid into this account, and all your expenses from your business is paid from this account. Then you have another account which can be a very basic savings account for your personal expenses, and then you can either do a weekly salary or you can do a monthly salary that you pull from your business and you transfer it into your personal account. All right, so under documentation I gave some examples of what is the difference between a personal expense and a business expense. So personal expenses is your rent for where you live, okay? Whether it's a rent or it's a bond, that's a personal expense. Your retirement, if you go and buy yourself some clothes or groceries, your gym fees, those type of things are your personal expenses. Stuff that you can put onto your business expense is your telephone account, your studio rental if you have a studio that you're renting, your fuel bill per month, your software licenses, those type of things you can put onto your business account. Again, all these expenses and stuff, how to separate the two, it is best to talk to a tax consultant to get a better idea. Yeah, I'm just giving you very briefly so that you can familiarize yourself with the concept and then know what type of questions to ask a tax consultant on how to help you build a good foundation for your financial management. Okay. The earlier you learn how to manage the financial side, the better it's going to help you to grow your business, to say, yes, my business is sustainable, or no, my business is not sustainable, I need to make adjustments. Okay, looking at your finances is very important in knowing whether your business is a success or not. All right, everybody's needs are different, and so therefore every business needs to supply to every business owner in a different way. You need to look what is best for you in your lifestyle and what it is that you need. All right, the next thing, no matter how young or old you are, today is the best day to start saving for your retirement. Okay, do not wait until the day that you nearly want to retire to realize 5 years from now, oh crap, I want to retire, but how am I going to do this? Okay, you do not want to get yourself off guard like that. So the younger you are, the better it is to start building for your retirement. And normally it's also when the earlier you start, the smaller the amount can be that you need to put away. So get somebody that you can talk to help you plan for your retirement and put money away every month for that. Retirement is also tax deductible. All right, just keep that in mind. And then you can also talk to this person about life policies and things like that, which are not tax deductible, but it is important to have some sort of backup plan if you are, for instance, something happens and you cannot do photography anymore, that you at least have a life policy to pay out to help with financial aid and things like that. All right. But please do not think, oh, I'm still young. Why must I think about retirement? I'm like, I don't know, maybe 22 or something. Um, the earlier you start, the better it is for the long run. Okay. All right, pricing. Okay. So there's a lot of controversy and a lot of discussions that happen around pricing. Okay, there's a lot of posts that we see often on social medias complaining about the entry-level photographers and what they are charging. All right, simple thing is the sun is big enough for all of us. There is space for all of us to run our businesses and to have clientele to attract. Okay, a lot of us did start as the 300 Rand photographer when we were busy building our portfolios, and that is fine. If that is where you need to start to build your portfolio and you say to clients, listen, I'm busy building a portfolio because I want to go into professional photography and build a business for myself, and this is what I'm charging right now, that is fine. But don't stay there. You cannot build a sustainable business on such low incomes, because how are you going to pay all your bills? Okay, when we go through the financial side now, you will see what I mean with how to work out your finances, how to figure out what it is that your business is costing you every month, and how much you need to make so that you can make a sustainable living from it. Now, again, everybody's personal circumstances are different. Some people do it full-time, some people do it part-time. Whatever works for you, it's fine. Make it work and just be realistic about your expectations and what you want your business to provide for you. Okay. All right. Okay, like I said, Nana, you need to know what your monthly expenses are, and you need to know what it is that you need to take home to pay for your personal business, for your personal expenses as well. All right, so there's two types of cost. You have fixed cost and you have variable cost. Now, your fixed cost is the thing that needs to be paid every month exactly the same amount. For instance, if you rent a studio space, every month your studio rent is the same amount. If you're paying for your software licensing, every month it's the same amount of I suppose if it's dollar, it can actually be a variable cost, but all right, maybe that's a bad example. But you get what I'm saying about paying your rent every month, which is the same fee every month. All right, a variable cost will be like, for instance, it can be in two parts. So it can be when you have to pay your tax consultant, it's a variable cost and it's once a year, maybe twice a year. Or it can be like your fuel bill, which is roughly the same amount every month, but it's not the exact amount every month. So those are the differences between your fixed cost and your variable cost. All right, so for most variable cost, you can budget an estimate of what you think you're going to spend in that area a month. Occasionally, there can be the unexpected cost, like when something breaks or something needs repair or something like that, or you need to buy paint to paint a wall. Those can also be classified as variable costs, but it's normally unexpected or slightly unplanned. Okay, so just keep some space on your budget for things like that as well. All right. All right, then you also need to know what all your personal expenses are so that you know how much you need to take out of your business to cover your personal expenses. So in the documentation, you would have seen that there is a Excel spreadsheet. On the Excel spreadsheet, there's one column or one page for all your business expenses. And then there's another page for all your personal expenses. And then there's a third page where we look at your yearly sales and how to work out your average sales, average cost per sale. All right. So go do the homework, go fill in the spreadsheet so that you get an idea of what your monthly expenses are going to be for your business. Right now, it's okay if it's just estimate, because each month you can amend and tweak the spreadsheet to say, okay, my business is growing, my expenses are growing, or I'm making adjustments here or there, and therefore I don't really need to spend a lot on this area anymore, and so on and so on. Okay, so it is going to grow with you, and it's good to go over your financials at least once a month. All right. Obviously, when you start paying your bills and stuff, then it gives you reason to go back to your spreadsheet and relook your monthly finances. All right, so keep track of your monthly finances and work off the spreadsheets and so on. All right, so when you need to work on your monthly budgeting and your costs and stuff, to try and avoid overspending, because when money constantly comes into your account, it is very easy to quickly spend here, quickly spend there, quickly spend there. And it also makes it sometimes very difficult to budget because you don't really know how much you're going to have at the end of the month. All right. So it's very, very important to have discipline in your financial area. Okay. Especially if you want to grow your business into something more and want to learn and maybe grow as a person and on a personal level, and maybe expand your businesses into different areas and stuff like that. Having financial control is important. Okay, so once you filled in your spreadsheet, try and stick to it and don't spend anything that is not on your spreadsheet. Okay, especially if you're starting out and you need to start saving up for equipment or things like that as well. Just try and keep that discipline in there, and it also will help you 3 months down the line when you have a consistent income to adjust your plan to say, okay, it makes it easier for me because my income is starting to become more consistent. So I have an idea of what I can budget for, how much money a month I can possibly put away to upgrade equipment or to buy new equipment and things like that. And you have to save money for the unexpected. Right, it's very, very important to save money for the unexpected. Some months suddenly are just very quiet. Sometimes something does break, or you need new tires on the car and you forgot to check it, or something. So make sure that you do put money away every month for the unexpected stuff that can occur. All right, and also something that your tax consultant will probably discuss with you, depending on what your turnover is, you also need to put money away to pay the tax man at the end of the year. Okay, so make sure that you have money set aside. All right, all the pep talk on finances. Let's look on how to work out your average sale. Okay, so on the spreadsheet, before you started filling it in, I don't know if you have started filling it in with your own data yet, but you would have seen that I've put some examples in there as well. So I've put examples. It's just roughly figures that I've kind of thumbsucked just to get data onto the spreadsheet and to use as examples so that you guys can see what I mean with everything. So I used an example of total sales of 21,000 Rand a month. Okay, so now you want to see, okay, last month, for instance, you had 21,000 Rand of sales. That's the amount of money that came into your account. As a total over the month. It's not necessarily what's left at the end of the month after some of the bills have been paid throughout the month. Okay, and now you want to work out what is your average cost per sale. Now, average cost per sale is now what we're going to do. Let me maybe do the example first. So you had maybe 20 clients last month and you made 21,000 Rand in sales. So you take the 21,000 Rand and you divide it by 20. So it gives you an average cost per sale of 1,050 per session. All right. So that's what your average sale was. So some of your sessions might have been 800 Rand and some of your sessions might have been 1,200 Rand. Okay. Because we have different packages, which is fine. Okay. But it works out the average for you. So having an idea of what your average is, then you know, okay, 21,000 Rand, I need to pump it up to 25,000 Rand because there's no extra bill that has come in that you need to cover. So how are you going to do that? Okay, so there's one of two things that you can do. You can either increase the amount of sales that you do, or you can increase the prices of your sales to increase your average. Okay. So if you now need to jump from 21,000 month income a month to 25,000, it means you need to make up 4,000 Rand. So how do you do it? If your average cost of sale is 1,050, it means you need to get roughly 4 extra bookings in. So those 4 bookings can be at 1,800 Rand booking, and it can be 3 1,200 Rand bookings. All right. Or it can be 2 800 Rand bookings and 2 1,200 Rand bookings. It all depends on how the booking comes in, but it gives you a rough idea of how many extra bookings you need to make based on your average cost of sale. So if your average cost of sale is not really something that's ideal for you, then it means you need to increase your price. All right, so when you increase your price, it will also increase your average cost of your sale. Okay, or your average cost per session. Having an idea of what the average cost of your session is very fundamental in helping you grow your business and your overall monthly expenses and your yearly expenses. Okay. So like I said, this is very basic on how to work out pricing and stuff. But as your business is growing and you are growing with your business and you're learning more about what your financial need is and what your financial income is, you will be able to say and look at your figures and say, okay, um, this is where I need to improve in my area. This is what I need to do here, and this is what I need to do there. All right. So it does help to work these averages out so that you at least know how to move forward and grow. Because a business that's not growing is essentially dying. All right. Anything in life, if it's not growing, it's dying. If it's stagnating, it's dying slowly. All right. So it's important to continue growing. We constantly develop in our businesses, we develop in our techniques, we develop as persons, as individuals and stuff. So growth is part of humanity. It's part of life. It's what we do every single day. All right. When I was younger, I thought that you stop growing by the time that you're 25 and you've reached the peak of your life. And then I turned 30 and I realized, oh my goodness, life is actually only starting. And then I reached 40 and now I'm really starting to enjoy life. And I realized, oh my gosh, you never stop growing. Life is a continual process. Okay. And the same in your business. You grow with your business as you learn more, and your finances are going to grow with you as you go. Okay. Let's take a look at the yearly figures for on the third page of the spreadsheet that we've sent out, that I've added in for you. All right, so over there, it's something that you can look at monthly, and obviously you need a year's worth of data to really understand how your business is growing. And when you start seeing the growth in your business, this spreadsheet becomes very, very exciting. Okay, so you start setting new targets for yourself, you start thinking out of the box, and how can I improve? How can I find out what my clients want more? So this spreadsheet is not something that you're going to look at daily, or this portion of the spreadsheet, but definitely monthly and yearly to help you keep focused and keep track. So the financial year monthly turnover, in that section, I've put it onto financial years so that it also lines up with your tax. It makes it easier that way. Instead of running from January to December, I've run it from March to Feb so that it lines up with your tax year. Okay, so that whatever your profit is on your tax year is the same as what is on your spreadsheet, so that you have a clear, you're not basically sitting with two sets of figures of over two different dates. Just make it simple. Just simplify things. Don't overcomplicate things. Okay, simplicity works. All right. Then there's also your cost of sales, of your average sales. I put a little section in there. Then you also just work it out every year to say, okay. And normally I go through these type of figures around about end of Jan, Feb, and then I update it when the financial year has come to an end. Okay. So you get an idea of how your business has grown from your average cost of sale, because you do want to actually increase your average cost of sale. So if you are doing an average of 20 photo shoots a month, that means it's roughly 5 photo shoots a week, okay, which is very manageable. If you are a wedding photographer, you obviously can't do 5 weddings per week, because most of the weddings happen on Saturday and Sundays. So if for whatever industry you are in, if you want to, the best way or the most profitable way or the most sensible way of increasing your average or to increase your sales is to increase your average cost of sale and not the number of sales that you do. So that comes with increasing your price, making your packages bigger, making your packages more attractive, adding maybe more things into the package, more times, more dresses or whatever, to make it more valuable for your client to want to book the package and so on. So instead of trying to increase just the number of sales but not increasing your price, and then actually end up working yourself to the bone, because you need to also keep in mind, even though 5 sessions a week does not sound like a lot, You need to also keep time for doing your admin, for doing your monthly accounting, for doing your editing. And I know we as photographers, we know how long editing can take, all right? On that, always just make sure that you take your photo in such a way that it requires minimal editing, right? But that's a whole different ball game on its own to how to take the photo, all right? So it is more sustainable to increase your average cost of sale instead of your amount of sessions that you do per month. All right. So that's why it's also very important to work out these figures so that you can see how you're growing and where you can push yourself and where you can improve. All right, and then also I've added some just little graphs on the side because to see it on little pictures always is great. I know I like my little colored pictures and graphs to show every year how the sales has increased for certain months. It also gives you an idea of which are your quiet months and which are your busy months. So that when you do your yearly planning, that you know you need to save up money for January because January is a slower month compared to December. All right. So these type of figures also help you plan for those type of things and for the unexpected. And when also maybe it's like sometimes April or May can be a quiet month as well, or June or July because it's the winter cold months and so on. Sometimes those months are a little bit slower. So when you do see business being slower, that you don't go into a panic stage and freaking out. But that you understand, listen, it's from the graphs, from the history, from all my sales over the last 3 years, those are slower months. So let me make sure I have money saved away to pay all the bills and stuff, and also not go into a panic. But also don't get too complacent because maybe there is something that you can do, a promotion or something that you can run that can still boost your sales. All right. So in your good months, don't worry too much about running promotions, but also in your slower months, then those are the good months to run promotions because you know those months are your slower months and so on. All right, so that also gives you an idea of how to do your marketing plan from a different perspective and why it is essential that you do keep an eye on your monthly finances. All right, you cannot wing your finances. It's so important. If you want to run a successful business, you have to manage your finances well and be on top of it and understand what goes in your finances. So if somebody walks up to you and asks you, okay, so what is your monthly turnover, so that you know what your turnover is? What is the minimum amount of money that you need to make per month? What is the minimum amount of sales that you need to make per month? So that you know, listen, I need to make 21,000 Rand sales per month so that I can pay my business expenses and take 10 grand to pay my personal expenses. Okay, so it's very important that you know what your minimum amounts are. So that you can grow. You can grow and you can do your planning and you can excel in your business. And I wish you all the best and everything that's fantastic and great. And remember, the sun is big enough for all of us. There's space for each and every one of us to find our space. So there's no need to go and copy or badmouth other people. Focus on what you're doing and on your positive energy, because if you're going to have a negative energy, you're going to bring it into your business. All right, remember to keep a positive energy, focus on what you're doing, listen to what your clients want, and don't go get involved in the politics in the industry. Every industry has got its politics. There's no point in getting involved in it because it's just going to bring your energy negative. All right, stay positive, and like I said, the sun is big enough for all of us. Okay, I wish you well, and I hope you've enjoyed it and found this informative. Okay, bye.